I am Lori Pine, the Joy CEO, and welcome to my very first solo episode. If you could go back and talk to the 25-year-old version of you, the one who's already working overtime to prove herself, the one who carried fear in their chest and ambition on their back, you wouldn't go back and give them a to-do list. You'd go back and give them permission to trust, to rest, and to stop thinking that they had to hustle their way to worth. And that's really what I want to talk about today. Going back and talking to that 25-year-old version of you. And what would you say? So I sat down and made a list of 3 things that I would really want to talk to my younger version of me about. Number 1, I would trust that it would all work out, even when I was afraid that it wouldn't work out. How many times have you found yourself in a situation of perseverating fear, perseverating worry that, oh my gosh, is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? What am I going to do? Am I going to get the job? Am I going to get the promotion? Am I going to get the boyfriend? Am I going to get the guy? Am I going to get the job? Am I going to move to another city? Am I going to stay here? What is going to happen? And so, I think back to how early on I really tried to control everything, from performance reviews to promotions to how others perceived me. I really cared a lot about what others thought of me. And all of that idea of control is such an illusion, especially in corporate life. Because how many times did you think things were going according to your plan, and then bam, out of nowhere comes a reorg that you have no control over, or company politics that are completely outside of your circle of control, or leadership decisions, or somebody has a bad day and they look at you wrong and you have no idea what just happened, especially if you're a young rising star and you're not quite sure how to handle or navigate those sorts of dynamics in the workplace. So then you ask yourself, well, what is in my control? Well, it's your mindset, it's your preparation, it's your presence, it's how you show up and bring the best version of you to work. So when I stopped really gripping the outcomes and trusted my instincts, these things started to open up for me, but it took a while. And my 25-year-old version of me probably does not know this. So if you could just visualize that there's a hula hoop at your feet, this is something I often talk to my coaching clients about. I call this my hula hoop theory. Imagine that there's a hula hoop at your feet and what you control is inside that hula hoop. That is a really great visual for you to know that you have to stay inside the hula hoop. We don't control anything outside of the hula hoop, but yet we can control what's inside the hula hoop. And that is us and us alone. We control our energy. We control our thinking. We control our perspectives. We control our attitudes. We control the types of information we take in, the types of media we listen to, how much, how little, the types of books we read, the types of friends, the types of places we go, the types of movies we watch, all the things that we let into our orbit that can affect us. We have control over that. We can say yes, and we can certainly say no. So, number 2, I would remember that great work matters, but it's not always enough. So early on, my whole upbringing was about work ethic. Work hard, Lori. Work hard, show up, give your best. And yes, all of that really matters. And I had to believe that if I kept my head down and delivered really great results, people would notice and that promotions would naturally follow. And sometimes they did. But here's the thing that I would ultimately learn. Great work does open the door, but you still have to walk through it And you have to find a way to let people know what it is that you're doing. So, yes, great work builds trust and credibility, and it gives you a foundation and shows you're capable. But you have to be able to sing your own praises. You have to let people know what you're doing. And not in a braggy sort of way, but in an informative sort of way, because people are busy. They're doing their own thing. They're caught up in their own thoughts, in their own world, in their own hula hoop. And you need to inform them about the wins that you're having, the successes that are taking place in your market or your part of the business or the places where you're touching, and give them sound bites that they can take back and say, hey, did you know that so-and-so is really doing a great job with X, Y, and Z? And give them that information so that they can actually talk about you when you're not in the room in a really positive way. That is how promotions can really happen, because we all know that promotions don't always go to the most competent person. They go to the most visible, somebody who can be really strategic and most aligned with what leadership is prioritizing. So if that's you, you have to toot your own horn and let people know that it's you. So here's a kicker for you. If you're not talking about your work, someone else is, and they might not be framing it in the way that you want them to. So be sure that you're giving them the sound bites, the guardrails, kind of spoon feeding them what it is that you want them to say about you and the work that you're doing. So important. Number 3, have interests outside of work. Oh, this one is a little bit of an ouchie. So I had tunnel vision for years. I mean, honestly, like, I grew up and wanted to be a vice president, and work became my identity. I was very driven, and it's easy to tell yourself that it's dedication, but really it kind of depletes you. And I think we need to be really careful about this one. This idea of tunnel vision, because what will happen when work becomes your only outlet, your identity will really start to shrink, and so does your joy. It just diminishes. And tunnel vision will limit your creativity. You'll stop seeing new ideas and new perspectives and new possibilities, because your entire focus is just like on the next win and the next meeting and the next performance review and what's on your calendar and what's not on your calendar. Are you missing out? And that could be a really dangerous place to be. So be sure that you can start to have some ideas about what else could live in your world besides just work. The trap of the tunnel vision is, like I said, you're going to lose creativity, you're going to lose joy, you're going to lose perspective. And I really wish that sooner in my life I had chosen a volunteer cause to be really passionate about and to stay really consistent with, or even a sport. I wish I had stayed with tennis. I played tennis all through high school, and I could have picked tennis back up as an adult and been part of a league, or that's something, even though I moved to 7 different states, tennis is something I could have belonged to clubs in all of those 7 different states. But I didn't. I let it go. And I picked it back up now, but it would have been better if I had had that consistency in that 20-year gap than had I not had that gap. So finding joy outside of work definitely makes us more human. It gives us more interesting people to connect with. It gives us people outside of our industries and outside of our work life. And there's something to be said about that. I have clients who have really interesting and passionate charities and organizations that they participate in, sports, they run marathons, and they're much more colorful. And when they go and interview for a job, these sorts of extracurriculars are all part of the conversations that they're having in their interviews. And it makes them far more interesting than a candidate who's like, oh, I just work. That's my interesting fact about me. And the truth is that that's not really that interesting. So if I recap my 3 things that I would do differently if I were starting my career over and I were talking to my 25-year-old version of me, number 1, I would trust that it would all work out, even if I were afraid it wouldn't. Number 2, I would remember that great work matters, but it's not always enough. You need visibility and to let people know what you're working on and what your wins are. And number 3, I'd expand my life beyond the boundaries of work because leadership gets stronger when your joy does too. So a couple of thoughts for you to reflect upon. What are you trying to control that's outside of your hula hoop? Are you hoping to be discovered, or are you making your impact visible? And lastly, what's one interest or outlet you could commit to that has nothing to do with work, but everything to do with fulfillment? And that is it for me today on the Joy CEO podcast. I hope you can hit subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and let us know what it is that you are going to do with these 3 things that you could talk to your 25-year-old self about. We would love to hear in the comments.